If you associate lesbianism with this flag that don't accept trans men, gender non-conforming, or non-binary people, what are you doing? I'm a lesbian and my goal is to reduce transphobia in the community and make it a more welcoming space. I'm not trying to erase any lesbian's definition of their own sexuality. I'm talking about how diverse lived experiences already exist within lesbianism. I was born female, raised a girl, I look feminine, but I enjoy masculine terms, and I consider myself gender non-conforming or non-binary when asked, but it's a bit complicated, guys. And I know that doesn't make sense to anyone, and that's okay. Someone's gender doesn't have to make sense to you for you to respect it. One thing I've noticed is that the lesbian community can be really hostile towards trans identities, and that's not okay. When it comes to my sexuality, people just erase the fact that I'm gender non-conforming and just are like, you're a girl, you look like a girl, you're a lesbian, so you're a girl. No, that's restrictive, conservative. It's a very outdated view of gender, guys. And I'm not talking about assumptions. We've all been conditioned to read gender a certain way. I'm talking about people who insist on reducing someone's gender identity to their own little box, to fit their own definition of lesbianism. Then I see the exact opposite happen to more masculine or trans masc people. While their gender might be respected, in turn they'll be completely excluded from lesbian spaces in a lot of cases. So, can I ask you, which is it? Why do you feel the need to pick and choose which parts of someone are valid? Why do you care so much about policing identities that do not threaten you? Now, the most common argument is lesbians are women-loving women. And though that's true, it's not the only way lesbianism has been lived throughout the decades. So reducing lesbian experiences to that just simply is not accurate. The NC lesbians, butches, he/him lesbians, they've all existed, and they are the ones who helped build the queer and lesbian community, especially in the 50s and 60s. Lesbianism is queer. Lesbian history has always included a wide range of gender expression and non-conforming identities. This is not new. And I promise you, your lesbianism as a cis woman attracted to other cis women is not under threat. You're allowed your preferences. You're allowed to be attracted to cis women. Just don't police other people's identities, because one thing the lesbians should hate, it's the fucking police. Another argument is that it harms trans men. Respecting trans people means respecting how they identify. If a trans man does not identify as a lesbian, well, calling him one is obviously misgendering. Point blank. These are entirely different situations and they should be treated separately. That's why listening to trans voices is so important. But if someone chooses that label because it reflects their entire lived experience, that's their choice. It actually makes complete sense that some trans folks might not want to let go of the lesbian label that they've literally grown up with their entire life, really unique to the person. The actual harm comes from not listening to trans voices and refusing to listen to how trans people define themselves. The point is, nobody should feel entitled to define a queer person's identity, especially when their experiences align with the label. There's nothing transphobic about respecting a trans person's identity. Not respecting it doesn't mean their personal identity defines every other trans person's identity. Gender isn't a one-size-fits-all. You need to listen to trans voices. Also, side note, can we talk about how fast people try to label lesbians as secretly bisexual? I've seen lifelong lesbians, even femme-presenting ones, being called secretly bi just because they're dating someone gender non-conforming. And bisexuality is valid, but policing someone's label is not. It also creates this weird pressure where lesbians are supposed to prove they're not secretly bisexual. We're always one step away from being in denial or confused or secretly straight or fake biens. I hate that fucking word. And this is a very real discourse in all parts of the community, wherever we're talking about important topics like the inclusion of trans women in the community to the use of fucking strap-ons. Sorry, there's nothing about lesbian sex that is straight. Why does everyone hate lesbians so bad and want them to be secretly straight? Actually, I know. Misogyny. The patriarchy. Who said that? But in the end, this all comes down to people being more comfortable with forcing others into rigid little boxes rather than accepting that identity is complex and personal. Yes, a lot of that comes from systems that already exist. Capitalism, the patriarchy, conservative values, but that's a bigger conversation. Lesbianism has always been about community, and allowing space for people that have always existed within the lesbian community is not erasure. Lesbianism is queer, and it has just never been about men. And before anyone says it, no, I'm not centering cis men. Stop. Saying lesbian is not for cis men is not centering them. It's a boundary. A boundary. And God, we need boundaries for cis men. The people I'm talking about including are not cis men. They're queer people. Queer people whose experiences overlap with lesbian identity and experiences, which, according to the symbolic flag, gender nonconformity, community, unique relationships to womanhood, serenity and peace, love and sex, and femininity. Just remember, flags are symbolic, not definitional, but these labels can help you understand your identity and others' identity a little bit better. All in all, I think as lesbians, we should be more welcoming to the already oppressed. Respecting people's identities is the bare minimum in a queer community. You don't need to understand it to respect it, and you are not being threatened. by the existence of other queer people. Anyways, thank you for listening. Bye!